Bullshit.
It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm your host, Dave Mastovich. Our guest today is Tom Michael, president of Larimers. But first, let's hit the bullseye. Beautiful Destinations is a travel-themed Instagram page launched in 2012 by Jeremy and Tom Jauncey. The brothers grew their account to over 8 million followers in less than 5 years and grew their business by attracting customers in the travel industry who want to reach Beautiful Destinations followers. Last fall, Instagram introduced its version of Snapchat called Stories, which incorporates short videos and images that disappear 24 hours after posting. The Jauncey brothers saw another growth opportunity through Stories to sell clients like Marriott International on new services to increase engagement on their social accounts. Beautiful Destinations can produce engaging client posts from videos and high-resolution images that drive potential new customers to a booking page for clients like Marriott. Beautiful Destinations moves social media interactions closer to actual transactions. Their clients can better leverage Instagram and more clearly see their marketing ROI. The Jauncey brothers understand both segmentation, dividing a market into distinct groups of buyers who have distinct needs, characteristics, or behavior, and who might require separate products or marketing mixes, and positioning, designing the company's offering and image to occupy a distinct place in the mind of the target market. It all makes Beautiful Destinations just that for both their end users who travel to such places and their paying customers like Marriott who want to reach and create new customers through social media, proving that the Jauncey brothers know how to market and hit the bullseye. The No BS Show is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/nobs. Try a book like Real Food, Fake Food, Why You Don't Know What You're Eating and What You Can Do About It by Larry Elridge. You can download it for free today. Again, that's audibletrial.com/nobs for your free audiobook. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Our guest today is Tom Michael, CEO of Larimers. Tom started the show off by giving us some background about his early days when he came out of American University, started as an examiner in New York City, pretty much on Wall Street at only 22 years old, did some big-time stuff there, ended up working for a hedge fund, then started a cheese company. So he was able to start from building the factory, hiring the employees, marketing, everything. Then decided to come back to Pittsburgh and bought into Larimers, working with Carl Schlesinger, who became a strong mentor for him. Carl was a second generation at Larimers. Tom talked about his mentors and even talked about how important it was to meet Richard Voller, who was his scoutmaster, who led him on to becoming an Eagle Scout, which is quite the level of achieving. It's the highest you can achieve there. He also walked through how important communication is, and in the earlier episode gave us some tips on business casual and how to address Casual Friday and business casual. Tom, welcome to part 2 of the No BS Marketing Show.
Thank you for having me. It's been very interesting.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the things, because when we were talking about prior to the show, you mentioned a pretty cool current event tied to a member of the president's cabinet and your Eagle Scout dinner. Do you want to talk about that story?
Sure. So I'm always happiest when I'm helping other people, and I just left the board of the Boy Scouts, but I was on the board for 8 years, and they asked me to chair the Eagle Scout dinner. There are about believe it or not, there are about 15,000 Boy Scouts in Western Pennsylvania, and about 300 of them make Eagle Scout every year, and they have a great dinner with a keynote speaker and a great honoree. And we came together at the Wyndham Hotel, 700 people attend, and honor these young men. And I said to the people gathered, if you want to believe in the future, meet these young men, because these 300 young men are, I know, going to go on to do wonderful things. If you, on LinkedIn, just simply Google Eagle Scout, you will see a huge list of names of people who've attained the rank And what they're doing today is amazing. And so that was an opportunity to help an organization I believed in, who gave to me and who I wanted to give back to. And this was a big, complicated dinner. And Rex Tillerson, who's now our Secretary of State, was our keynote speaker, with Rich Harshman, the chairman of ATI, was the honoree. And a lot of times, these honorees don't get enough enough appreciation for everything they do in the community. And Rich is that kind of guy. He's low profile and but out there doing a lot of good. So we came together and we raised a considerable amount of money for the Boy Scouts in Western Pennsylvania by holding that event. And the best thing was that we honored those 300 young men and some of them had saved a life. I mean, we talked about what they had done. And they're 18 years old, and they had done some amazing things in our community.
300 Eagle Scouts a year. It shows it's a small group. It's a highly lofty status. Talk about what it means, because some of the things I can say is I think it shows that at an early age, someone was disciplined and organized and willing to work beyond themselves.
True. I don't remember a lot about making Eagle Scout. I'm going to say something that is much more mundane. My brother did it. He was older, so I did it. My favorite stories are you'd see 8 kids make Eagle Scout, and they had started as Cub Scouts and gone through scouting together and had all made it. But it certainly prepares you for life in ways that you don't expect or understand when you're 16 years old.
You talked in the first episode about how helping young adults when they're early in their career. When you were 22, you were jumping into major leadership positions. I had a similar experience. Talk a little bit more about that, about how important it is early in your career to take chances and really appreciate what's happening around you.
Wow. I don't think you understand the risk you're taking when you're young and you start a business. You feel invincible and you think you can do anything, and you don't have all those commitments, and so you're free to just jump in and take advantage of things. And that's what we did at the cheese company. I didn't know how to manufacture an all natural cheese product with an extended shelf life. I didn't know that this was a mature market. I didn't know that every consultant and his brother would have told you not to do it. You only think of the possibles. What's possible?
I was telling a group of college students that I was speaking to, I told them a story about a person who was trying to become an intern for Mass Solutions, and I received probably 100, 150 direct inquiries to me, and then others in the company receive inquiries. And we really don't have a formal internship program as we used to. We've just moved away from that for various reasons from a leadership standpoint. So when I get those, I often forward them to someone else, or I'll respond and let them know. So the one person had sent me an email, and I just responded, we don't really have an internship program right now. However, if you were interested in gaining some experience working for free, I'd be willing to at least listen. And that email usually leads to nothing. So like 100 people, 100 don't send anything back. She immediately sent back and said, I want to work and gain experience. I really like your company, which she was probably just doing some Google searches and humoring me. And she said, so I'm still interested. And I wrote back and said, I said something like, well, would you be willing to come to the city of Pittsburgh? You live in Wheeling. And she wrote back, yes. And she told me how she would do that. And I said, we would be able to put you on some projects that are marketing the company. And if you prove yourself, we could put you on some projects that could be client work. And the whole email string kept going where I was trying to almost filter it out. So finally at the end, I forwarded to Mike Gaddy and I wrote unicorn. And she is now part of the team for this summer. She's got an internship we weren't going to do. So I told these college students this, and I said, here's something that when I say it, I'm saying it for dramatic effect. and I want you to then listen to the follow-up. The follow-up is your time right now is the least valuable it ever will be. I'm not saying that to offend you because you think you're busy. You're 20 and you got 75,000 things going on. You're looking at your phone, you're posting stuff. But right now is the time when your time is the least valuable from a capitalistic standpoint. And you have to give that time to learn. And this intern realized that. And young people that realize that and understand that when I started this job over here and I'm asked to do this, I'm going to do everything I can to learn and know that that's the time when I can work 60 hours a week. That's the time when I can work on a Saturday and still go out Saturday night and still have a great time. I'm not asking people to not have a life, but that's a lesson that I try to give young people. And I think it ties back to your point about when you were 22.
Yeah. I'm always out there trying to learn. I consider myself a lifelong learner. I've never stopped learning. And we've never stopped starting companies. And I would recommend that all young people understand what you just said and take the opportunity. We have a big internship program as well, and I love working with our interns, and they're always so interesting and engaging, and think that everybody should take advantage of it.
I think that people sometimes are concerned about being taken advantage of, or they think that they, can't make it work without getting paid, or they're worrying about getting paid for every hour.
Yeah.
The cream rises.
I know. So I'm going to American University, and I'm in the economics department, and this is in the olden days when the bulletin board and they had the notice and you ripped off the phone number. And this company called Andrew Brimmer and Company is looking for economic interns. And I'm thinking, I'm a TA, and I'm thinking, that could sound interesting. There's no internet. There's no looking up who Andrew Brimmer is. I mean, you could go to the library and look it up. And turns out he was an economist on the board of the Federal Reserve. And he wasn't at the time, but he retired. And they had a whole economic consulting firm down in the Watergate. And because American University is in Washington, D.C., and I would go down there, and all I got to do was to clip articles out of the newspaper on subjects that they wanted to read about. This was before you could search in the internet, and there were clipping services of news stories, and they had their own clipping service operation. And I would talk to the economists. They'd say, "We want any article about this," and I'd look through 12 different newspapers and clip the articles and put it together, and just gave me a perspective that I didn't know that really helped me. And the thing that was most impressive to me at the time was Andrew Brimmer charged $600 an hour, and this was in 1982, and that was a large amount of money for an hourly charge.
Absolutely. You move on to Larimer's, and you start out at CFO and then become president and now CEO. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to cut to the chase to help our listeners, and we're going to jump around a little bit. So what's up with the less wearing of suits today by men?
It's a trend. And what I learned in the stock market and being an arbitrage trader is the trend is your friend. So as retailers, we play the trend, which is we do a lot more casual clothing. We talk to people, both men and women, about how to dress casually and still deliver your brand. And that's the trend. So we don't really have a say in it. That's fashion. And to remain relevant, our job is to give our customers the current information for them to make great decisions that help them.
Full disclosure, I've been a customer for a number of years, and Roy Gross, one of your key sales reps, mentioned to me yesterday that it's 18 years that he's been calling on me. But I made the move about 4 years ago, maybe, to Robert Graham shirts. Kind of made it my little trademark thing, and they work great. So I made sure I dressed in full Larimer's outfit today for you from
and
shoes
you look
on.
great. You look great, and you're dressed casually, and that's where your brand is today. And I'm sure you have a variety of different outfits that you wear that project your brand. And what we tell people is, when was the last time your clothes made you feel invincible? And we ran this great ad once that I just loved. The little boy was running along the beach. His towel was tied around his neck and his arms were outstretched. And the tagline on the billboard was, when was the last time your clothes made you feel invincible? And when people, men and women, wear clothes that they feel good in, it helps their performance. It changes their persona.
I agree. I suit up still whenever I have a client meeting. I just don't go with the tie as much. But talk about suits from someone that's, say, a recent grad or been working 2 or 3 years. They don't wear suits to work very often. Why do they still need a suit, and how should they go about getting one?
Well, everybody needs a couple of suits. And let's just stop a minute. We dress lots of women.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm biased right now. I'm asking for me, and I have 3 sons.
Well, women represent over 50% of the workforce. Women are getting higher degrees more than men. This is a statistic I have not verified, but someone told me that the women's clothing business in the United States is bigger than the economy of Germany.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Let's just stop and think about that.
Wouldn't surprise me. So let's go down this path for a minute, because I still want to get back to some specifics on men's suits. But let's talk about your segmentation and your targeting. What percentage of your business, ballpark, is men, and what percent is women?
Well, right. Well, first of all, let me say that we see the women's business as the low-hanging fruit, and we're hard at work developing our women's business. Right now, we're about 60-40. Okay. And so operation like Saks is 70% women's and 30% men's.
So you're 60% women right now?
No, 60% men, 40% women.
Because I would have thought that. I would have thought that you had a higher men, and I might have thought even been 70.
Right. Our DNA is men's, clearly.
Yeah. So you're, from a communication standpoint, you're now trying to communicate more and more to see if that mix can change.
All the time. And, talking about being an entrepreneur, we've started an e-commerce site, which is a national business. And we sell more women's online than we do men. And our social media audience is more women than men. So
tell a young woman listening to the show right now who does not buy from you why she should buy from Larimer's.
For quality clothing that she'll feel great in, that will help deliver her brand. So when you come to a better store, the opportunity you have is to build a relationship with a seller who's going to take care of you. They're not going to pressure you. They're going to advise you. And when you go to the store and you see a piece you like, it might be at full price, and it might be more than you want to spend. Sometime later, your sales associate could very well call you up and say, "Hey, Julie, you know that piece you loved? Well, it was marked down. You should come in and get it." Then you get expert advice on how to build your wardrobe, what looks good on you and what doesn't, and whether it'll work in the workplace or whether it's more for after work. And then you get great alterations, because your clothes have to fit. What most women are doing today is they're just trying things on until they find something to fit. If the fit is close, it can be altered. And we have a cadre of artisan tailors and seamstresses who will alter the garments so they fit properly. And then what happens is you feel great in the clothes, and it helps your performance, and you get lots of compliments. So I think young women should come to Larimer's for that. We carry lots of contemporary clothing, which I don't know how your audience is segmented. Is it more men than women?
It's interesting because we have a very big percentage of the audience is that younger audience that they'll heard me speak, or I teach at various universities, and we get a lot of the people that are in that earlier part of their career, but then we seem to then skew more towards C-suite people because of a lot of our guests and a lot of the people that are in my network. So that is more men. The younger audience is probably equal.
Right. Okay. So that's why I think young women should come to a better clothing store, is for a more complete experience.
The tailoring is something that I learned at a very young age. My mom was just amazing and always has influenced me every day, but she always talked about the fit being important. And so you're like 18, 19, and you're like, yeah, whatever. I don't even want to wear this thing, let alone make it fit.
Right.
But I will tell you that when you gain and lose weight, everybody fluctuates regularly. That fit means so much. To go and get something that's a suit that's 10 months old, and if you need to change it, you need to change it.
Right.
And it makes such a difference.
It does. And one of the big mistakes you see men make is they'll buy some clothing off the rack and they won't have it tailored, and it'll be the wrong size, or it'll be poorly tailored and it doesn't fit them. And, we say it's a very important component to any clothing you buy is getting it tailored.
Absolutely. Let's go back to that. We're going to take both then. So we're going to say, how should a recent grad, first men, then women,
right?
What should they look for when they have the low budget, maybe don't think they can afford Larimers, but they need to get that top of the line fitted great thing from you? How should they go about it?
Well, we carry a lot of different price points. So that's the first thing most people don't understand, is that we have a lot of price points. Another way they can shop the store is on the sale merchandise, because we have really high quality stuff that's on sale twice a year, and that's a good idea. I think how you dress today depends on what job you're seeking. Okay, if you're going to go to work for a financial institution or some kind of commercial real estate operation, some kind of operation that is very sophisticated and client-facing, you certainly want to be dressed where you can influence people you want and that you're going to meet. And in a lot of cases, and I know we talked about this at the beginning of the last segment, is you're going to meet people you want to influence. And a lot of what transpires initially is nonverbal. So we tell a lot of our customers to keep a blazer on the back door of their office, because when their boss comes in and says, hey, let's go have lunch with this client, you throw the blazer on and you just simply have more authority. That's not something I made up. That's not something you made up. That's what's viewed by general society. So you should put yourself in a more powerful position. And so young people need to know that. Now, that said, and when you go to interview, you, again, need to understand what is the dress at the company. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask those questions and say, well, what's appropriate dress? And then always dress a little better than what they say. So we talked about shoes. Have a great pair of shoes on that are shined. That'll never overstep any bounds of casual or dressy. We think you should wear, if it's appropriate, wear a suit. And we think it's a suit and a sport coat are part of any man's wardrobe in life. Because when your mom wants you to go to that wedding, you're going to put a suit on. I'm sure your mom made you do that.
She did. In fact, let's go down that path a little bit. What do you wear to a wedding, both as the guest and the groom in today's world, because the fashion has changed so much?
Wow. Suits have become a special occasion outfit, and people do it their way. And that's what's great. And they should. We say our purpose for being is to make people feel good about themselves. And we get text messages and pictures and phone calls all the time from people who say, I felt great wearing this. And you're talking about weddings. And I got a picture from one of our customers who got married in Napa, and he bought a tuxedo. wore a classic tuxedo, and he shoots me this picture of these 4 guys standing around just before the wedding, him and 3 people I also knew, and they're all wearing beautiful tuxedos from Laramore's. They feel great, and they're in Napa Valley, and he goes and gets married. And it just feels great to hear those stories. But people do it every way they want today. They do it on the beach. They do it in a suit. What a lot of young people do, which is, I think, a great idea, is they get married in a suit that they intend to use. So they'll spend a little extra money, buy a great contemporary suit, and we make a lot of bespoke clothing. So we make a lot of made-to-measure clothing. There's nothing more luxurious than having your clothes made, and people will have a great suit made that they then use. And I'm thinking of another time when we made a beautiful suit for this young man, and he got married. And I know he's in the financial industry, and I know he's wearing that suit today at work, and I know he feels great in it. And he looked great when he got married, and his wife was really excited.
That's Tom Michael, president of Larimer's, and I'm Dave Mastovich. You're listening to the No BS Marketing Show. Tom, when it comes to messaging, we have to understand both our why, or reason for being, and our customers' why, or reason for buying. We then need to crystallize that into one big idea, one memorable message or theme that makes an emotional impact on our target audience. So whether it's for you personally or your company, what's the big idea?
The big idea is our purpose in being. And we talked about that just a minute ago, which is how do people view us? Our reason for being is providing a high-touch retail experience to our customers. We sell them high-touch quality clothing with great tailoring. And it provides a wonderful living for us and our employees, and it is a really fun environment to work with. One of my favorite stories is, since we know most of our customers, one of our favorite stories is our customer comes in the store, and a lot of times they bring in the next generation. And we have wonderful stories of taking care of 3 generations of families. And so our customer brings his sons in one day. And I learned this story because I was at the gym, and his locker is near me, and we were working out, and we were changing, and I was talking to him, and he tells me this story. He goes, because I knew his sons he just brought his sons in the store. And I said, how are your kids? Oh, they're great. They're coming home from school. I know they're going to want to come to Laramore's. And he says, the last time we were in there, they had a great experience. And as we were leaving and we walk out of the store, they turned to me and they said, "Dad, they knew your name." and that's the kind of relationship we have with our customers, and we really get to know them, and we think about what they need, and it's all about our customers. The luxury experience in the 21st century is about the customer, and the customer's in control. So what does the customer want? The customer wants a great buying experience. They usually enjoy fashion. They understand the value of quality clothing, and someone has either taught them that or they've stumbled across it in their own lives. And how did you learn to buy better clothing?
Well, when I was in high school and college, I landed this big internship on Capitol Hill, and I came from kind of, I guess you'd say, humble beginnings, and we didn't have a whole lot, but my mom took me to a store, a men's clothing store, and there was a woman working there that was probably about the same age as my mom. And so imagine the, say, 18, 19-year-old stereotypical jock coming in and insecure, and I don't go on to Capitol Hill because I had good grades and good managerial experiences, but I'm still not confident at all that I can go there and work on Capitol Hill. And so this woman sat down and showed me all kinds of stuff, and I'm a detail person. I was kind of nervous, and she could tell I was nervous, so she pulled out index cards and she wrote down all the stuff that various matched. And
nice.
I had those hidden in D.C., and I'd get up every morning and try to not let anybody see me while I picked out what I was going to wear. But then I became like really good at it. And then that one guy that was a screamer, who's a great guy and mentored me, so I don't want to imply that I'm not talking negatively about him, still close and made a big impact on my life. He was a clothes horse. So when I came to work for him, I was in my 20s, and I was this VP coming in that the whole hospital and healthcare system were like, who's this young gun? So I came in, I remember working with him, And he and the CFO there were big time clothes horses. And that's when I started going to Larimer's. And then when I landed at UPMC, it was even more challenging because it was like truly competitive. And but so many of the guys would spend all this money. Like one guy he would brag he had 30 suits, he said one time. And I was like, that's senseless and it's overkill. But he'd wear this expensive suit and then crappy shoes.
Right.
And I used to just go, what's up with that? And then the other one was these other guys weren't smart enough to go get fitted. And the shirts would be, and you can remember this from the 90s and early 2000s. I don't know if it's still the case, but you'd wear a suit and the shirt would be so big out in the back. And that was when I knew the guy was clueless, because if you know anything, you go and get that so that it's fitting.
Trimmed up, right.
And so that's kind of the three influences were my mom, and then she takes me to this woman, and then two different places that I worked. The CEO set that tone.
Right.
And, I'm blessed, and I'm going to teach all my sons that, because if I wouldn't have had a mom who was like that, who then took me to that person, and she just spent so much time with me, and she could tell like I didn't want to be there, like how my middle son Brevin is right now. If I took him to your place or to Roy, he would just be like, what am I even doing here? And she fought through that, and it changed everything.
And it changed your life.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear that you're going to teach your children, because enough people aren't taught this anymore. And you're doing a disservice to your kids if you do not take the time to try to educate them on how to dress. And it's the same thing as etiquette and how to buy better clothing. One of the reasons you want to buy better clothing is it lasts longer and it feels great on. And so, again, why buy a less expensive suit and it wears out in a year and it didn't really fit and it kind of feels like cardboard, and treat yourself.
Or forget the shoes.
Yeah.
And it was Trish from Bridge Men's Clothing. I still see the sign as a teenager. It said, big and tall. That's what it said. Bridge Men's Clothing, big and tall. And I thought, that fits me, so I'll get in there.
You are big and tall. So, you're athletic, though.
Yeah. So that's interesting how those kind of things happen. But the shoes matter, and it's interesting how few people take the time to get the fitting or to get the shoes or get the belt or the tie, and they don't realize on the men's side. Now, on the women's side, I do believe that accessorizing is far more sophisticated and better than on the men's side. The men are just kind of like often
and talking about business casual, women get it because they're used to wearing separates. So they wear a jacket and a pant and a blouse and a piece of jewelry and carry a handbag and have a great shoe. Men need to learn to wear, and we don't call it separates on the men's side, but they need to learn to put all the pieces together: a great pair of pants, a great shirt, maybe a jacket, maybe not a jacket, maybe a soft jacket, maybe a piece of outerwear. You see this all the time, young people wearing a top coat that's more fitted and no sport coat and a great dress pant and a great shirt and a great pair of shoes. So we were talking about the big idea, and our big idea is how to make people feel good about themselves. And that is what we are executing every day. We just use clothes to execute that idea, because people leave the store or they leave the online experience. I'm going to knock on wood here. We have a great online rating. And people seem to really enjoy their online experience, which is much more difficult than the in-store experience. In the in-store, you're talking with a knowledgeable sales associate who's helping you, like your saleswoman who took the cards out and wrote it down. We photograph for our customers. We do all kinds of things to help them, because a reasonable number of men are colorblind.
I'm terrible. The difference between navy and black in the morning is hard for me. I have to separate my closet that way, because I can I'll put them side by side and I'll be like,
what color is that?
Yeah.
Right. And so we mark the labels for customers. These all go together and really help them out in a variety of ways. But so our big idea is making people feel good about themselves, and that's what we do every day.
I love the way it's evolved, because you used to need index cards because there were so many rules through the 80s and 90s, and now there is a lot more flexibility. I love that socks can be crazy. One thing that does take some getting used to for me is yesterday I was in a meeting with a client, and they had the dress shoes with no sock. and it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a fashion statement. What they're usually doing is wearing those no-seams, the little
I know.
the little sock
that
that's
you can't see.
And I'm not sure how that got started, but you'd probably be more comfortable if you were just wearing a pair of drivers without socks. That would seem more natural to you.
I think some of these trends started by the crazy dress that athletes, predominantly NBA players, because Dwayne Wade did that look about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And you start seeing people follow trends by celebrities.
Right. That is one way it happens. Also, just a fashion idea is a good idea. You talked about men's shirts, how full they were in the 90s and how much excess fabric there was. And today, those shirts are all trimmed up and really accentuate your features and feel great on.
And this one that I'm wearing today is trimmed so you can actually leave it untucked.
Yes.
Which is a big move which I love.
Yeah. Good. So fashion becomes fashion when it works for the general population.
Tom, pick a tool that will help our audience tell their story, craft their message, or communicate to internal and external audiences. It can be a tool like a productivity tool, your favorite book or blog, whatever you think might help our listeners.
Well, first I'd like to talk to your listeners. I know you guys have talked about SEMrush, this SEMrush tool. And so we have because we're hard at work on our e-commerce site, we have a great team of millennials who run it. And I'm just so proud of them. And so I said to our team, what's SEMrush? And they explained it to me. And I said, well, why don't we use that? And they said, well, we use Moz, M-O-Z. And Moz is kind of a newer version of SEMrush, I think. Now, I'm a little out of my wheelhouse here talking about this, but I knew you guys had talked about it. And,
yes, Dave Nelson was a guest who brought up SEMrush as his tool or tip for the audience.
Right, and it's a great idea if you're online. The way we use Moz is for search engine optimization, SEO, to drive our name higher in the Google search results. So I would say to your audience, definitely look at Moz. For us, the tool we're using today is video. We think that it's a critically important part of any business. I don't care if you're in the tool and die business or you're in the window business or you're in the fashion business. You should have a YouTube channel. You should be developing videos about how to use your products and how to solve your customers' problems. My favorite is we decided to shoot a video of how to tie a bow tie. And we used one of our managers, Greg, and he's very, plain looking. He's a great guy, and he had just a plain white shirt on, and we have a very unique way. I don't know how many men in your audience have been frustrated trying to tie their bow tie for their tuxedo or their suit. And so we shot a video of how to tie a bow tie. Now, again, did we go to YouTube and see how many videos were done of that? No, we didn't have any idea. We just shot the video and put it up. What we came to understand is everybody and his brother has shot a video on how to tie a bow tie. But what was our competitive advantage? We had a very unique way. Today we have, I don't know, I haven't checked recently. We have 132,000 views of that video. And people wrote, and this is what really got me into YouTube is, people would write us from all over the world on our YouTube channel, and they'd say, "You saved my life. I can't believe it. This was the best video ever." And it really opened my eyes to video. And we use video, the way we use it now, that's most interesting, I think, is we use it in a folksy, homey way where my business partner, Lisa, who speaks very well extemporaneously, you got to bring all the pieces to the puzzle together. walks through the store and talks about the new arrivals. And we shoot a 3-minute video that we put on our website, that we put on our YouTube channel, that we put on our Facebook page, that we put on, we send out in an e-blast to our customers. And it's just so fun. She's becoming much more well-known. When customers are in the store, they'll see her and they'll say, "Hey, you haven't done a video in a while." And you know, still photography was the standard. And today, video is the tool that everybody can use. I mean, have you looked up a YouTube video?
Yes, absolutely.
What have you learned to do on YouTube?
Geez, just about anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Change your garbage disposal.
Well,
adjust your bike derailleur.
Even how to make a drink.
There you go. I like the way you think.
So there's all kinds of different ways to make, for instance, an old fashioned. There's like 3 or 4 different ways to make an old fashioned.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I got to live up to the Mad Men stereotype.
Okay.
So that's Tom Michael, president of Larimer's. Tom, was there anything that you thought I'd ask that I forgot to, or something I mentioned I might ask that I didn't?
Well, I think, I think that how retail is being disrupted today.
Yes.
And if your industry hasn't been disrupted, get ready, because it's going to be. Banks are being disrupted. I don't need a bank account anymore. I'm not going in the branch. So many industries, I would say the legal field is about to be disrupted. And our industry is, of course, going through some enormous change. And today we address that through a concept called omnichannel. And what that means is we communicate and engage with our customers in any different way they want to engage with us. And I think this applies to a lot of businesses because your customers, you're going to find your customers coming to you in a variety of ways. So you were using social media. If my customer wants to meet me in social media, I meet them on Facebook. If they want to meet me in their snail mailbox, I mail them something. If they want me to call them, I call them, text them. We meet them online on our online site. And it is just a powerful way to engage your customers. So you should be thinking of non-traditional ways to interact with your customers. And my favorite story about all of this is we had just started our e-commerce site, and our salesman's in the fitting room, and he's finishing up a great sale with his customer. And the customer, the salesman thinks the sale's over. And the customer says, "Oh, just a minute." And he pulls out his phone and he goes, and he pulls up the website and he goes, "Oh, my wife told me to buy this and this." And so if you don't know anything about omnichannel, or this is a word you don't know, I think you should start to learn it and understand it and bring that skill to your business.
Tom, I like the fact that you're talking about disruptions in your business and others, and it shows your background way from the beginning, as in episode 1 when you talked about starting out and ended up at a hedge fund manager and starting your own cheese company, which was manufacturing, and now being on the retail side. You get it. You understand both business to business, B2B, and business to consumer, B2C. So for you to talk about 2 or 3 industries that are about to get some disruption, I think those industries need to start thinking about it.
Yep. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to all of us.
Exactly. Thanks for being on the No BS Marketing Show, Tom.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It's been very enjoyable.
Great. Thanks for joining us, to our listeners, and visit masssolutions.biz for show notes plus additional marketing and messaging resources. Sign up for Light Reading, our weekend review, where you'll receive timely, valuable ideas to improve your marketing and transform your message. It really is light, intended to be read in 2 minutes or less. That just might trigger bright ideas for you. Again, sign up, visit masssolutions.biz. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions.